You know what's worse than a bad breakup? An ex who refuses to accept it's over? I'm Peter, I'm 32 years old, and I thought I had finally found happiness with my wife Luna. We had great jobs, a beautiful home, and our whole lives ahead of us. But there was one problem. My ex-girlfriend, my first love, the woman I caught cheating on me, decided that she wasn't done with me yet. And what started as uncomfortable encounters turned into a nightmare that would consume 2 years of our lives and end in a courtroom. This is the story of how my ex's obsession nearly destroyed everything I built and how we finally made her regret ever crossing that line. But before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because stories like this remind us that sometimes reality is stranger than fiction.
Let me take you back 5 years. I was 27, working as a junior developer at a mid-sized tech company, and I met Sarah. Sarah wasn't just beautiful, she was magnetic. She had this energy that drew everyone to her. Long, dark hair, bright eyes, and a smile that could light up a room. We met at a company mixer, one of those awkward networking events where everyone pretends to be interested in small talk. But with Sarah, the conversation flowed naturally. We talked about everything that night. Our dreams, our favorite movies, the places we wanted to travel. She told me she worked in marketing at a pharmaceutical company downtown. She was ambitious, driven, and she made me laugh in a way I hadn't laughed in years. By the end of the night, I had her number, and within a week, we were inseparable. For 3 years, I thought Sarah was the one. I really did. We moved in together after 18 months. She had this way of making even mundane moments feel special. Sunday morning pancakes became our tradition. She'd play old jazz records while we cooked, and we'd dance around the kitchen like idiots. I was so in love that I started looking at engagement rings. I even talked to my mom about my plans to propose. But here's the thing about rose-colored glasses. They make red flags just look like flags. Sarah started working late more often. At first, I didn't think much of it. She was up for a promotion, and I wanted to be supportive. But then came the secretive phone calls. She'd step out onto the balcony to take certain calls, or she'd silence her phone when I walked into the room. Her explanations were always reasonable. A demanding client, a crisis at work, her boss being unreasonable. I trusted her. That was my mistake. The truth came out on a Tuesday evening in October. I'd left work early because I had a migraine, one of those splitting headaches that makes you see spots. I came home to our apartment expecting to find it empty since Sarah had told me she'd be working until at least 8 that evening, but her car was in the parking lot. And when I opened the door, I heard voices coming from our bedroom. You know that moment in movies where time slows down? That's exactly what it felt like. Every step toward that bedroom door felt like walking through water. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Part of me wanted to turn around and walk away, to preserve the illusion just a little longer, but I couldn't. I opened the door. Sarah was there with Marcus, a guy from her office I'd met exactly twice at company parties. They were in our bed. Our bed. The one we'd picked out together at IKEA on a sunny Saturday afternoon, arguing playfully about whether to get the firm or medium firm mattress. The look on her face when she saw me wasn't guilt. Not at first. It was annoyance. Like I'd interrupted something important. That's what hurt the most. Not the betrayal itself, but the fact that in that moment, I was the inconvenience. Marcus grabbed his clothes and ran, literally ran out of our apartment in his underwear, carrying his pants. Under different circumstances, it might have been funny. Sarah started crying immediately, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration. She tried to explain, to justify, to somehow make this my fault. I'd been working too much. I wasn't paying enough attention to her. She felt lonely. The excuses poured out of her like a rehearsed script. And maybe they were. Maybe she'd been preparing for this moment. I didn't yell. I didn't scream or break anything. I just felt numb. I told her to pack her things and leave. She refused. It was her apartment too, she said. We'd both signed the lease. So I packed a bag instead and went to stay with my best friend Jake. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, lease negotiations, and dividing up 3 years of shared possessions. Who gets the coffee maker? Who keeps the framed poster from that concert we went to? Every item was a memory, and every memory hurt. I threw myself into work. Coding became my escape. I'd stay at the office until midnight, losing myself in lines of code where problems had clear solutions and bugs could be fixed. My colleagues noticed, but were kind enough not to pry. Except for Luna. Luna worked in the same IT firm as me, but in a different department. We'd collaborated on a few projects, exchanged pleasantries in the break room, but I'd never really noticed her before. Not the way I should have. She approached me one evening when I was alone in the office, staring blankly at my screen, my code forgotten. She didn't ask what was wrong. She didn't offer empty platitudes or unsolicited advice. She just placed a cup of coffee on my desk, the way I liked it, with 2 sugars and a splash of cream. She'd noticed. Then she said something I'll never forget. Whoever hurt you doesn't deserve the power to keep hurting you. Then she walked away. It was such a simple statement, but it hit me like a truck. She was right. I was letting Sarah's betrayal consume me, define me. I was giving her power over my present, even though she was out of my life. The next day, I thanked Luna for the coffee. She smiled, and I noticed for the first time how genuine her smile was. Not practiced or performative like Sarah's had been, just real. We started talking more. Coffee breaks turned into lunch breaks. Lunch breaks turned into dinners after work. Luna was different from Sarah in every way. Where Sarah was loud and attention-seeking, Luna was quietly confident. Where Sarah needed constant validation, Luna was self-assured. She was a senior systems analyst, brilliant at her job, but never felt the need to announce it to everyone in the room. She had short, practical hair that she usually wore in a messy bun, wore minimal makeup, and dressed for comfort rather than show. But what drew me to her most was her kindness. Not the performative kind that seeks recognition, but the genuine kindness that shows up in small, consistent ways. She remembered how people took their coffee. She checked in on colleagues who seemed down. She stayed late to help junior developers debug their code without being asked. We became friends first, real friends. She knew about Sarah, about the cheating, about how broken I felt, and she never once tried to take advantage of that vulnerability. She just let me heal at my own pace. 6 months after my breakup with Sarah, I realized I was falling for Luna. But I was terrified. What if I was just rebounding? What if I hurt her? What if she didn't feel the same way? So I did nothing. Until Luna did something that shocked me. We were working late on a critical project, one of those all-hands-on-deck emergencies that happens in IT. It was nearly 3 in the morning. We were exhausted, running on coffee and adrenaline, but we'd finally fixed the bug. In our sleep-deprived celebration, Luna looked at me and said, "Peter, I need to tell you something." My heart stopped. I knew what was coming, and I wasn't sure I was ready. She said, "I know you're still healing, and I don't want to pressure you or make things weird at work, but I have feelings for you, real feelings, and I needed you to know that, even if you don't feel the same way." She had beaten me to it. This amazing, brilliant, kind woman had just put her heart on the line, risking our friendship, risking workplace awkwardness, because she believed I was worth it. I kissed her. Right there in the office at 3 in the morning, surrounded by empty coffee cups and computer screens. And it felt right in a way nothing had felt right in months. We started dating officially after that. And it was everything my relationship with Sarah hadn't been. It was built on friendship, respect, and genuine affection. We took things slow. We communicated. We supported each other's careers and celebrated each other's successes. A year and a half later, I proposed. Not with a grand gesture or a flash mob or any of the over-the-top things Sarah had always hinted she wanted. I proposed on a quiet Sunday morning while we were making pancakes in our new apartment, jazz music playing in the background, because that's what felt right for us. Luna said yes, and I thought my past was finally behind me. I was wrong. Sarah showed up at our engagement party. We'd kept it small. just close friends and family at Luna's parents' house. It was a beautiful afternoon in spring. Luna's mom had made too much food, as mothers do. People were laughing, sharing stories, celebrating our future together. And then Sarah walked through the gate into the backyard like she'd been invited. I froze. Luna, sensing something was wrong, followed my gaze and immediately understood. Sarah looked different, thinner, tired. Her hair was shorter, her makeup heavier, but her eyes had that same intensity I remembered, that magnetic quality that had drawn me in 5 years ago. Except now, looking at her, I felt nothing but discomfort. "Peter," she said, ignoring everyone else, ignoring Luna, "we need to talk." "No, we don't," I said firmly. "You need to leave." "I made a mistake," she continued, her voice rising. Several guests had stopped their conversations to watch. "I never should have let you go. Marcus meant nothing. It was just a moment of weakness. You and I, we had something special. We can get that back." Luna stepped forward, placing herself between Sarah and me. "I'm going to ask you, politely, to leave," she said calmly. "This is a private event, and you weren't invited." Sarah's eyes flickered to Luna, and something ugly crossed her face. "And who are you? The rebound? You think you can replace me? Marcus and I have history. We have a connection. You're just a placeholder until he realizes what he gave up." I'd never seen Luna angry before, but her composure in that moment was impressive. "I'm his fiancé," Luna said evenly, "and you're trespassing. Leave now, or we'll call the police." Sarah's mask slipped. The tears, the vulnerability, it all evaporated, replaced by something cold and bitter. "You'll regret this, Peter. Both of you will." Jake and 2 other friends escorted Sarah out. The party tried to resume, but the mood was broken. Everyone was too polite to ask questions, but the awkward glances said enough. That night, lying in bed, Luna asked me the question I'd been dreading. "How long were you with her?" I told her everything. The 3 years, how I'd thought Sarah was the one, how the cheating had blindsided me. Luna listened quietly, holding my hand. When I finished, I said, "I need you to know something. What I felt for Sarah is nothing compared to what I feel for you. She's my past. You're my future." Luna kissed my forehead. "I know," she said, "but I have a feeling your past isn't done with us yet." She was right. The messages started the next day. Sarah had somehow gotten Luna's number. The texts were unhinged, rambling paragraphs about how Luna had stolen me, how Sarah and I were meant to be together, how Luna should do the right thing and step aside. Luna showed me every message, and we documented them all. Then Sarah started showing up places. She'd be at the coffee shop near our apartment when we went for our Saturday morning lattes. She'd appear at the gym Luna and I had joined. Once, we found her sitting in her car outside our building at 2 in the morning. When I confronted her, she claimed she was just in the neighborhood. We tried blocking her number. She got new numbers. We tried ignoring her. She escalated. She created fake social media profiles to send us messages. She started leaving notes on our cars, long, handwritten letters about our destiny and how Luna was keeping us apart. The notes were disturbing. They showed that Sarah had been watching us, learning our routines. She knew what time I left for work. She knew Luna's favorite lunch spot. She knew we were planning a vacation to Portland and even knew which hotel we'd booked. "This is stalking," Luna said one evening, holding another note Sarah had left. "This one had been slipped under our apartment door. We need to do something." I agreed, but part of me felt guilty. This was my ex, my problem. I'd brought this chaos into Luna's life. But Luna, in her typical Luna way, wouldn't hear it. "We're a team," she said firmly. "This is our problem and we'll solve it together." We went to the police first, filed a report, showed them the messages, the notes, the documentation of Sarah showing up everywhere. The officer was sympathetic but not optimistic. Unless she threatens you directly or tries to harm you, there's not much we can do. Keep documenting everything, get a restraining order if you can. So we tried for a restraining order, but the judge denied it. Sarah hadn't made any explicit threats, she hadn't attempted any violence. Being in the neighborhood wasn't a crime. Sending texts, even obsessive ones, wasn't enough. We were told to come back if the situation escalated. It escalated. Sarah started targeting Luna at work. She somehow got the main number for our IT firm and would call repeatedly asking for Luna by name. When Luna's colleagues would say she wasn't available, Sarah would leave disturbing messages. Tell her Peter belongs with me. Tell her she's making a mistake. Tell her this won't end well for her. Luna's boss called her in, concerned. The calls were disrupting the workplace. Could Luna handle her personal issues outside of work? Luna, mortified, explained the situation. Her boss was understanding but clear. This needed to stop. Then Sarah went further. She contacted Luna's parents, claiming to be an old friend who was concerned about Luna's welfare. She told them I was abusive, that I was controlling, that Luna was in danger. Luna's parents, confused and frightened, called us immediately. Luna had to sit them down and explain everything, show them the evidence of Sarah's harassment. It was humiliating for her, having to defend our relationship, having to prove that I wasn't the monster Sarah was painting me as. The final straw came when Sarah showed up at Luna's sister's workplace. Maya, Luna's younger sister, was a teacher at an elementary school. Sarah somehow found out where Maya worked and appeared in the school parking lot, approaching Maya as she was leaving for the day. Sarah told Maya that I was dangerous, that Luna was being manipulated, that the family needed to intervene. Maya, frightened by this stranger who knew so much about her family, immediately called Luna and then notified school security. That's when we knew we had to take serious action. Sarah wasn't just harassing us anymore. She was involving our families, showing up at a school where children were present. This had gone from disturbing to dangerous.
We hired a lawyer, not just any lawyer, but Jennifer Chen, a specialist in harassment and stalking cases. She came highly recommended, and from our first meeting, I could see why. She was sharp, no nonsense, and most importantly, she believed us. "I've seen cases like this before," Jennifer said, reviewing the evidence we'd compiled. Months of text messages, emails, photographs of Sarah's car outside our building, witness statements from friends and family. Your ex is showing classic signs of obsessive behavior. The good news is you've documented everything. The bad news is these cases can be difficult to prosecute. "Why?" Luna asked. "We have proof she's been stalking us." Jennifer sighed. "Because the law hasn't caught up with modern stalking. When stalking laws were written, legislators were thinking about strangers in bushes with binoculars. They weren't thinking about exes with smartphones and social media. Showing up in public places isn't illegal. Sending texts, unless they're explicitly threatening, often doesn't meet the criminal threshold. What Sarah is doing is absolutely stalking, but proving it legally is challenging." She laid out our options. We could try again for a restraining order with our new documentation. We could pursue a civil harassment lawsuit. We could file criminal complaints each time Sarah contacted us or showed up somewhere. It would be expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining. "Do it," Luna said without hesitation. "All of it. I'm not living like this anymore." I squeezed her hand. My guilt about bringing this into her life was overwhelming, but her determination was inspiring. We were in this together. The legal battle began. Jennifer filed for an emergency restraining order, and this time, with months of additional evidence and the incident at Maya's school, the judge granted it. Sarah was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from both of us, our workplaces, our families, and our home. She was prohibited from contacting us in any way. For about a week, we thought it was over. The harassment stopped. No more texts, no more sightings. We started to relax, to imagine that maybe we could move forward with our lives. Then, Sarah violated the restraining order.
She showed up to our apartment building, rang our doorbell at midnight, and started shouting through the door. She was drunk, crying, begging me to talk to her. Neighbors called the police, we called the police, and we recorded everything on our phones. Sarah was arrested that night for violating the restraining order. She spent the night in jail and was released the next morning with a court date. We thought surely this would be the wake-up call she needed. We were wrong again. Sarah hired her own lawyer and decided to fight back. She claimed we were harassing her, that the restraining order was based on lies, that I had led her on and then cruelly rejected her for Luna. Her lawyer filed a countersuit claiming emotional distress and defamation. It was insane. We had evidence, documentation, witnesses, and still Sarah was trying to twist the narrative to make herself the victim. The legal proceedings dragged on for months. Court dates, depositions, mediation sessions that went nowhere. Sarah would show up to court looking fragile and devastated, playing the part of the heartbroken woman who'd been wronged. But we had truth and evidence on our side. During this time, our lives were on hold. Luna and I had postponed our wedding. We couldn't imagine celebrating while this was hanging over us. We'd moved to a new apartment with better security, afraid that Sarah would escalate further. We varied our routes to work, checked our cars for tracking devices, and lived in a constant state of vigilance. The stress was taking its toll on both of us. Luna, who'd always been so steady, started having nightmares. I watched her become more cautious, more guarded. She'd jump at unexpected noises. She'd check over her shoulder constantly. It broke my heart to see what Sarah's obsession was doing to her. "I'm so sorry," I told her one night after she woke up from another nightmare. "This is all my fault. You shouldn't have to live like this." Luna cupped my face in her hands. "Peter, listen to me. This is not your fault. Sarah is making these choices. Sarah is responsible for her actions, not you. And I chose you, knowing your history. I chose us. I don't regret that for a second." Her strength gave me strength. We were going to get through this together. The trial finally came 18 months after Sarah had first appeared at our engagement party. 18 months of harassment, legal battles, and living in fear. But now, finally, we would have our day in court. Jennifer had prepared us thoroughly. She'd coached us on how to testify, what questions to expect, how to stay calm under cross-examination. "The truth is your ally," she reminded us. "Just tell the truth, exactly as it happened." The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. It wasn't like the dramatic courtrooms you see on TV. It was just a regular room with fluorescent lights and uncomfortable benches, but the weight of what was happening there was enormous. Sarah sat with her lawyer at the defense table. She dressed conservatively, trying to look sympathetic. When I walked in, she looked at me with those same intense eyes, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, just a desperate wish for this to be over. The prosecution went first. They laid out the timeline of Sarah's harassment, showing the evidence we'd compiled. Text messages were read aloud in court. The notes Sarah had left were entered as exhibits. Witnesses testified. Jake, who'd escorted Sarah from our engagement party. Luna's sister Maya, who described Sarah's appearance at her school. Our neighbors, who'd seen Sarah parked outside our building repeatedly. Then it was Luna's turn to testify. I watched her walk to the stand, looking small and vulnerable in a way I'd rarely seen her. But when she spoke, her voice was steady. She described the harassment, the fear, the way Sarah's obsession had consumed our lives. She talked about having to explain to her parents that I wasn't abusive, about her boss's concern over the disruptions at work, about the nightmares that still woke her up. "I've never done anything to this woman," Luna said, her voice breaking slightly. "I fell in love with someone who was single, who'd been deeply hurt. We built a relationship based on trust and respect. And for that, I've been harassed, threatened, and stalked. I've had to change my phone number 3 times. I've had to move.
I've had to look over my shoulder every time I leave my house. This needs to end." Sarah's lawyer cross-examined Luna, trying to suggest that Luna had somehow pursued me while I was still with Sarah, that she'd been the one to break up our relationship. But Luna remained calm, answering each question truthfully. There was no affair, there was no overlap. I'd been single for 6 months before Luna and I even went on our first date. Then I testified. I told the court about my relationship with Sarah, about discovering her infidelity, about ending things and trying to move on. I described Sarah's appearance at our engagement party, the messages, the stalking, the fear. Sarah's lawyer tried to paint me as the bad guy, suggesting that I'd led Sarah on, that I'd promised her a future and then cruelly abandoned her. But the evidence spoke for itself. I had ended the relationship immediately upon discovering her cheating. I hadn't contacted her. I'd tried to move on. Everything that had happened since was Sarah's choice. Finally, Sarah took the stand. And that's when everything fell apart for her. Her lawyer had clearly prepared her to look sympathetic, to present herself as a woman scorned who'd made some mistakes but meant no real harm. But Sarah couldn't help herself. When asked about her actions, she didn't show remorse. She showed anger. "Peter and I were meant to be together," she insisted. "We had something special, something real. And then Sarah pointed at Luna, she manipulated him, convinced him to throw away 3 years of history. I was just trying to make him see the truth." "Ms. Anderson," the prosecutor said, "did you or did you not appear at the defendant's engagement party uninvited?" "I needed to talk to him," Sarah said defensively. "Did you or did you not send over 300 text messages to Ms. Luna Chen despite being asked to stop?" "I was trying to explain." "Did you or did you not violate a restraining order by appearing at their residence at midnight?" Sarah's composure cracked. "He was supposed to be with me. We were supposed to get married. I gave him 3 years of my life and he threw me away like I was nothing for her. She's not even that pretty. She's boring. What does she have that I don't?" The courtroom went silent. Sarah's lawyer put his head in his hands. Even the judge looked shocked. The prosecution let the words hang in the air for a moment. "No further questions, Your Honor." The trial concluded the next day with closing arguments. Jennifer was brilliant, summarizing the evidence, pointing out how Sarah's own testimony had revealed her obsessive mindset, arguing passionately for justice. Sarah's lawyer did his best, but there wasn't much he could work with. His client had essentially confessed to stalking on the stand. The judge didn't take long to make her decision. She found Sarah guilty of stalking, harassment, and violating a restraining order. She issued a 5-year restraining order and sentenced Sarah to 6 months in county jail, followed by mandatory counseling and probation. "Ms. Anderson," the judge said sternly, "your behavior has been deplorable. You have harassed, stalked, and terrorized 2 innocent people for no reason other than your inability to accept the end of a relationship. Your actions show a disturbing lack of respect for boundaries and for the law. I hope during your incarceration and treatment, you will gain insight into your behavior and emerge as someone capable of respecting others' autonomy." Sarah was led away in handcuffs. As she passed our table, she looked at me one last time. The intensity was gone. She just looked tired and defeated.
When we walked out of that courtroom, Luna and I didn't celebrate. We were too exhausted, too drained by the entire ordeal. We just held each other in the hallway, feeling the weight of 18 months of fear and stress finally lifting from our shoulders. "It's over," Luna whispered. "It's really over." "It's over," I confirmed. And for the first time in a year and a half, I actually believed it. The next few months were about healing and reclaiming our lives.
We had put so much on hold because of Sarah's harassment. Now, finally, we could move forward. We started planning our wedding again. This time, we hired security, not because we thought Sarah would appear, she was in jail, but because we needed that peace of mind to fully enjoy the day. The wedding was perfect, small, intimate, surrounded by people who loved and supported us. Luna looked absolutely radiant. When I saw her walking down the aisle, I was overwhelmed with gratitude. Gratitude that she'd chosen me, that she'd stood by me through the nightmare with Sarah, that she'd never wavered in her commitment to us. During our vows, I included something I'd written specifically about our journey. "You've seen me at my worst," I said to Luna, my voice thick with emotion. "You've stood beside me through chaos and fear. You've been my strength when I had none left. And you've never once made me feel like I was a burden, or that any of this was my fault. You're the most incredible person I've ever known, and I promise to spend every day of our marriage showing you how grateful I am that you chose me." There wasn't a dry eye in the venue. Even Jake, my perpetually joking best man, was wiping away tears. Our honeymoon was everything we needed. 2 weeks in Japan, exploring temples and cities, eating incredible food, and most importantly, just being together without fear or stress. We turned off our phones, ignored email, and just existed in the moment. When we returned, we decided to make some more changes. We had been living reactively for so long, our lives dictated by Sarah's actions and the legal proceedings. Now we wanted to be proactive about building the life we wanted. Luna got a promotion at work, recognition for her talent that had been somewhat overshadowed by the stress of the Stalking case. She was now managing a team of analysts doing work she was passionate about. I started my own small software consulting business on the side, something I'd always dreamed about but never had the courage to pursue. Luna encouraged me, believed in me, and helped me take that leap. We bought a house. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. We painted the walls colors we loved, filled it with furniture we picked out together, and created a space that felt like home. A real home, not the temporary apartments we'd been living in while looking over our shoulders. One of the most healing things we did was volunteer together at a local women's shelter. It might seem strange, given what we had been through, but helping other people who'd experienced harassment and abuse gave us a sense of purpose. It transformed our pain into something meaningful. Through the shelter, Luna met other women who'd been stalked by exes, who'd been through similar legal battles. She formed friendships with people who understood what she'd been through in a way most people couldn't.
3 years have passed since the trial. Sarah served her 6 months and is now on probation. She's in court-mandated therapy, and according to her probation officer, whom Jennifer occasionally checks in with, she's actually making progress. She's apparently working at a small marketing firm, keeping her head down and staying out of trouble. We haven't heard from her. Not a single message, email, or sighting. The restraining order expires in 2 years, but honestly, I don't think we'll need to renew it. I believe Sarah finally understands that what she did was wrong, that her obsession nearly destroyed not just our lives, but her own. Do I forgive her? That's a complicated question. I don't wish her ill. I hope she's getting the help she needs and building a healthier life for herself. But forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't impact us. It's about releasing the anger and resentment so it doesn't poison our future. Luna and I have grown so much through this experience. It tested our relationship in ways I never could have imagined, and we came through it stronger. We learned how to communicate under pressure, how to support each other through fear and stress, how to be a true team. Sometimes people ask Luna if she regrets getting involved with me, given everything that happened with Sarah. Her answer is always the same. I don't regret choosing love. I regret that one person's inability to accept reality caused so much pain, but I'd choose Peter again in a heartbeat. As for me, I've learned so much.
I learned that ignoring red flags, even small ones, can lead to bigger problems down the road. I learned that real love isn't about grand gestures or intense passion. It's about showing up every day, supporting your partner, choosing them over and over again. I learned that you can't control other people's reactions or behaviors. I couldn't make Sarah accept our breakup or move on, but I could control my own actions, how I responded, how I protected the people I loved. Most importantly, I learned what real love looks like. It's Luna staying calm when Sarah showed up uninvited. It's Luna holding my hand through depositions and court dates. It's Luna looking at me after a nightmare and saying, "We're going to get through this." Luna and I now have a beautiful life. We have our home, our careers, our families. We're talking about starting a family of our own soon. We have plans and dreams and a future we're building together. Sometimes on quiet Sunday mornings, we still make pancakes and play jazz music, but now it's not trying to recreate something from my past. It's creating our own traditions, our own memories. It's choosing joy and normalcy after years of chaos. If I could go back and change things, would I? Would I avoid dating Sarah knowing what would come later? Honestly, no. Because everything I went through led me to Luna. It taught me what I didn't want in a relationship, which helped me recognize what I did want when I found it. Sarah was my first love, but Luna is my last love. And there's a profound difference between those two things. To anyone going through something similar, dealing with an ex who won't let go or a stalker who's making your life hell, here's what I want you to know. Document everything. Every text, every email, every sighting. Take it seriously even when others don't. Get legal help early. Don't wait for the situation to escalate to a crisis point. But also know that you can get through it. It won't be easy. It will test you in ways you can't imagine. But with the right support, legal resources, and determination, you can reclaim your life. You can win. And you can find happiness on the other side. Sarah taught me what I didn't want. Luna taught me what love should be. And our journey together, as difficult as it was, taught me resilience, strength, and the power of choosing the right partner. My name is Peter. I'm 35 years old now. I'm married to an incredible woman named Luna. We both work in IT and make a decent living. We have a home we love, plans for the future, and most importantly, we have peace. My ex-girlfriend, my first love, the woman I caught cheating, tried to destroy that peace. She stalked us, harassed us, and made our lives a nightmare for 18 months. But we fought back. We took her to court, we won, and we made her regret ever crossing that line. But more than that, we built something beautiful out of the chaos. We built a life together that's stronger because of what we survived. We built a love that can weather storms because we've already weathered the worst one we could imagine. And that's the real victory. Not the court case, or the restraining order, or Sarah's jail time. The real victory is the life Luna and I have built together, the love we share, and the future we're creating together. If you've made it this far in this story, thank you for listening. I hope it reminds you that no matter how dark things seem, no matter how persistent someone's harassment might be, there is a way out. There is justice, and there is happiness waiting on the other side. Sometimes the person who breaks your heart isn't your biggest mistake. Sometimes they're just clearing the path for the person who's meant to heal it. Luna healed mine, and together we made sure that no one could break it again.
So that's my story. From betrayal to harassment to justice and finally to peace. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories. Drop a comment below telling me what you think. Have you ever dealt with an ex who wouldn't let go? How did you handle it? Remember, you deserve to feel safe. You deserve to move on, and you deserve love that builds you up instead of tearing you down. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.